Hello, welcome back to Learn Oikonomia. In this video, we are going to discuss the concept of supply side economics. Many of you might be familiar with respect to what supply side economics is, but many of you would be there who are not that much aware of this concept. So, in this video, we would be discussing almost all concepts, all arguments, etc. about the concept of supply side economics. So let's get started. The term supply side economics, it is also known as Reaganomics. Reaganomics. This is because it is the concept is something which is put forward by a person known as Ronald Reagan. As a result, we can see that supply side economics is better known to many people as Reaganomics or trickle down policy, and this is espoused by the 40th president of the US, Ronald Reagan. So that is why it is known as Reaganomics. Okay, so coming to Reaganomics and President Ronald Reagan, we could see that he had this particular person, Reagan, and his Republican contemporaries have popularized the controversial idea that greater tax cuts for wealthy investors and entrepreneurs would provide them with incentives to save as well as incentive to invest and produce economic benefit that would trickle down into overall economy. So that the person is saying that the all discussion is revolving around the topic uh, greater tax cut for wealthy investors would be helping them to invest more, would be helping them to make a lot of investment in the society or lot of investment in the economy. As a result of the same, what happens is that the effect of these kinds of investment would be made in the form of benefits, and as a result of these benefits, the benefits could be trickled down to overall economy. As a result, the benefits of these investments would be ensured by each and every person in the economy. So that is the crux of Reaganomics. This is the main argument, and this is a main topic of discussion in the economics or supply side economics, and around which the topic revolves around, and it is based on this particular idea that supply side economics has developed. So let's go to the details of these kinds of things. Like most economic theory, the supply side economic concept or supply side economic theory also tried a lot to explain both macroeconomic phenomena based on these kinds of explanation, and also this had offered many policy prescriptions in order to attain stable economic growth. In general, we can say that this particular concept or this particular theory has got basically three pillars: tax policy, regulatory policy, and monetary policy. So we started with tax policy by looking into the previous slide. You might have understood that the whole thing started with tax policy. A tax cut would lead to more investment, and this will lead to trickle down effect, and as a result the benefit of these kinds of things would be ensured by all the people in the economy. So it is very much important. Tax whom? That question is important. So if you tax the wealthy people, that will definitely lead to problems. So if you are going for tax reduction or tax cuts for wealthy people, that will help them to go for more investment, and this will create some benefit for wealthy people, and not only for wealthy people, but benefit would come down to, it would trickle down to the lower sections of economy, so that each and every person in the economy would be enjoying the benefits. So that's the basic idea. So here it has got three pillars: tax policy, regulatory policy, and monetary policy. These are the pillars of supply side economics. So let's understand more. However, the single idea behind all the pillars is that production is the most important factor in determining economic growth. Okay, so when I say production, it involves supply of goods and services. Why we are supplying is because we are producing, and why we are producing? Because we need to supply. So this is another important idea with respect to supply side theory, and this theory is held in stark contrast to the Keynesian theory, which among many facets we could know that it is something which plays a very important role when it comes to demand side economics. Keynes is a person who had given greater emphasis to what is known as demand side economics. So when you are putting supply side economics and demand side economics, we can see that these are something which come as opposite to each other. So if lagging consumer demand drags the economy into recession, the government should intervene with fiscal and monetary stimuli, and this is the opinion of Keynes. Keynes says that if the private people are not ready to make investment in the economy, then government should come forward and make investment. So in a recessionary situation, private players will not act, they won't come forward to make investment. So government should come and make investment. This would help to stimulate more and more investment in the society, or more and more investment in the economy. So ultimately the economy could come out of what is known as recession. And this is the argument of Keynesian economics. Let's see more and more. So this is a single big distinction. You might now have understood the basic difference between Keynesian economics or demand side economics with the supply side economics. So a pure Keynesian economist would believe that consumers and the demand for goods and services are key economic drivers, whereas in the case of supply side economists, these people would be believing that producers and their willingness to create goods and services would set pace for economic growth. So when Keynesians or the demand side economists give more and more importance to demand for goods and services by emphasizing its importance to create and promote economic growth, when it comes to supply side economists, they say that it is the supply of goods and services. It is the producers act of producing goods and services that would act as a stimulant, that would act as a catalyst which would promote economic growth. So these are this is a basic distinction between supply side economists and demand side economists, or Keynesian economics and supply side economics. You might be very much familiar with the idea that supply creates its own demand. This is known as Say's law, and this is the one of the basic arguments of what is known as classical economics. And what is this particular notion has got with respect to supply side economics? Let's understand that too in detail. So supply side actually goes further and claims that demand is largely irrelevant. So they are giving more importance to producers, they are giving more importance to suppliers, they are giving more importance to supplier, and they are actually neglecting demand, and they are giving more and more importance to what is known as supply. It says that overproduction and underproduction, this is something which are not sustainable. So for some time this may happen, but as a result of market forces, this can be erased. As a result, there won't be any underproduction, there won't be any overproduction for too long. Okay, the even if there is these kinds of things, that would be a short term phenomenon, that won't be a long term phenomenon. So these people argue that, I mean supply siders, they argue that companies temporarily overproduce, and when they overproduce, they would be producing in excess, and prices would subsequently fall, right? So when in this scenario, there would be an act of market forces of demand and supply, and as a result of these, the prices would be adjusting, and there would be some kind of erasing of what is known as excess supply in the economy. And this essentially amounts to the belief in a vertical supply curve. And when I say vertical, it might be it is not exactly vertical, but it is almost vertical. Okay, and the supply, when it is vertical, it means that the only thing that increases the output is increased production in supply of goods and services. As a result, we can say that it is the supply of goods and services that is the ultimate indicator and ultimate stimulator of economic growth as per supply side economists. As we have already told, there are three pillars to supply side economics. So just to start from taxation policy, we can see that they argue that on the question of this kind of policy, they argue that they actually argue for lower marginal taxes. They don't want the government to charge a high tax on the economy. They just want a lower tax, because they believe that if you tax less, that would be helping the economy to grow, right? So in regard to lower marginal tax, supply siders believe that lower rate would induce workers to prefer work more. I mean, when there is lower taxes, workers would feel some kind of incentive to work more. As a result, they would choose work rather than leisure. So they would be choosing work over leisure. So they would work more. As a result, there would be more production. As a result, there would be more growth in the economy. And in regard to lower capital gains tax rates, they believe that lower rates would induce investors to deploy capital productively. So this is another point of view to support supply side economists arguing for lower tax rate. So this would be promoting more and more investment in the economy, which would ultimately lead to what is known as high economic growth. At certain rates, supply side would even argue that government would not lose total tax revenue, because lower rates would be more than offset by a higher tax base due to greater employment and productivity. So this is what the supply siders argue for lower tax. They are telling that even if the government is taxing less, that will not reduce the revenue of the government, because even if it is reducing, that reduction would be overcome by the increased production and increased growth in the economy. Because when the government is lowering the tax rates, it would definitely benefit the entire economy, because people would choose to work more rather than choosing leisure. They would be choosing to work more. As a result, there would be more production in the economy, and as a result of more production, there would be more growth in the economy. As a result, government would be getting more and more money. So it is not a loss for the government to tax less. That is the argument of supply side economists. On the question of regulatory policy, these people tend to ally with the traditional political conservatives. So those who would prefer a smaller government and a less intervention in the free market. So like classical economists, these two people are telling that they don't want much government intervention in the market. So leave everything to market forces, leave everything to demand and supply. That demand and supply would make adjustment in the economy. If there is any kind of imbalance in the economy, the demand and supply would make adjustments so that the imbalance would be resolved. So government intervention is not that much needed. uh, in that argument, we can say that in that sense, supply siders are actually supporting the classical school of thought, and they are against Keynesian economics. So this logical, from their stand, this idea of less government intervention is logical, although they may acknowledge that the government can temporarily help by making purchases. They don't think this induced demand can either rescue a recession or have a sustainable impact on growth. So, like classical economists, they are not telling that, supply siders are not telling that we don't need a government to intervene in the market. They are not telling in that sense, but they can tell if the government want to intervene in the market, they can intervene, but that should be a temporary basis. That should be on a temporary basis, not on a permanent basis. After their work is done, just go out of the market. That is the argument of supply siders. And coming to the third pillar, which is a monetary policy, this is something which is controversial, especially the argument put forward by supply siders and the argument put forward by several other school of thought. We can see that there exists some kind of controversy with respect to the third pillar. By monetary policy, we are actually referring to the Federal Reserve's ability to increase or decrease the quantity of dollars in circulation. When I say Federal Reserve, just understand that take any kind of central bank, the central bank of any country, the central bank of India or central bank of US. The central bank of US is Federal Reserve. If you come to the case of India, the central bank of our country India is the Reserve Bank of India. So it all refers to the central bank's ability to increase or decrease the quantity of money in circulation. So where more money mean more purchases by the consumers, and this would create more liquidity in the system or in the market. Coming to the Keynesian school of thought again, to understand the difference between the supply siders and Keynesian school, a Keynesian tend to think that monetary policy is an important tool for tweaking the economy and dealing with business cycles, whereas a supply sider does not think that monetary policy can create economic value. Even though Keynesians give more importance to fiscal policies rather than monetary policy in certain times, at certain times, especially when to deal with business cycles and all, even Keynesian school of thought have understood the importance of what is known as the monetary policy. But remember, Keynesians always give more and more importance to fiscal policy. It is only at certain cases they are pointing to the importance of monetary policy. While both agree that government has a printing press, the Keynesians believe this printing press can help solve economic problems. So that is what I have already told you. Keynesians always they give more and more importance to what is known as a fiscal policy, government, like those kind of things. But the supply siders, they would think that the government is likely to create only problems with printing press by the following means. I mean, if that is why the supply siders are telling that government can intervene, but don't intervene for long term, just intervene temporarily. After once their work is done, just go out of the market. They are telling the government to go out of the market once their work is done. So if, they, as per their view, as per supply siders, the government would create only problems, because the government would create lot of inflationary liquidity as a result of expansionary policy, and they do not sufficiently lead to greasing the wheels of commerce in as a result of they would be leading to many problems in the economy. So these kinds of things are very much important. I hope you might have got some understanding with respect to supply side economics. So in summary, we can see that it is actually the exact opposite of what is known as Keynesian economics. When Keynesian economics give more importance to demand side, supply siders or economics give importance to supply side. When Keynesian economics give more importance to consumers point of view, these people give more importance to producers point of view. When Keynes gave more importance to the government, these people give more importance to they are actually giving less importance to what is known as government. And supply siders, they are actually giving a greater emphasis to sales law of demand, but Keynesians have already they have done away with the concept. So I hope you might have got some idea with respect to economics and the difference between Keynesian economics and supply side economics. That's all for today. Please like, share and subscribe to this channel for more videos, and you can be a part of my Telegram channel and Telegram group to discuss your doubts. I'll be providing the links of these in the description box. And also if you want me to do any of the topics, you can comment that in the comment box. I'll be taking out it from there. I'll be picking it from there. So thank you for watching.